21-year-old Ben Melmoth took it all in his stride at the Falcons training this afternoon. After great performances on the court, coach Tom Wiseman had no choice but to give the Giant a start against the Adelaide 36ers on Saturday. A back complained sidelined captain Butch Hayes, but despite the scare, he too will definitely start in his 50th game for the Falcons.
It's great. It shows, I guess, a little bit of longevity and stability with one team. I'm looking forward to it.
Sitting well out of the 8, Newcastle knows it has to win.
We're in a situation where we've got to win every ball game to get to the playoffs, or at least win 5 out of 6.
Midweek, the sides met in the Foxtel Cup. The Falcons won then by 7.
They might do some things differently. They tried to double off Scott McGregor and got burnt by that fairly well on Wednesday, so I don't think they'll be doing that again.
Tip-off at the Entertainment Centre at 7:50. Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
Costa's also a really good fighter. I don't take anything away from him. I respect him a lot for a champion. He got really good things going on for him, but unfortunately he got to fight me. And
The Knights started last night's match against Illawarra well, but a try against the run of play took the wind out of Newcastle's sails. 4-0, Newcastle hit back with a try of its own to go to the break 6-4, but the defending premiers failed to find top gear in the second half. A lack of ball and the Knights fired up. While on the bench, first-grade coach Malcolm Reilly saw another season slip away. Tangata forced the match to extra time, the 20 minutes only prolonging the agony of defeat as the reserve-grade premiers bowed out.
This is the sound George Terzian and his neighbours listen to 4 out of every 7 days. It's also the noise they've been fighting against for the past 7 years. The sound comes from the Toukley Pistol Club at YE.
When they start shooting, there isn't a bird in sight, everything just disappears, the place just goes quiet, and all you can hear is this constant hammering of these guns going off.
George says council permission for the club was granted on the understanding the range was at least 1.6 kilometres from the nearest residence. He says it's only 900 metres from his property and only 200 metres from his neighbours.
The primary school is situated just up the road up here, which is less than a kilometre and a half, and they have to be subjected to this.
Lake Macquarie Council, along with the Environment Protection Authority, have been notified. They're now monitoring the noise levels.
More people are taking to the track, and with tourist operators fighting for the traveller's dollar, rail is becoming a popular choice.
I think that's happening across the whole world at the moment, but CountryLink's going through even a greater renaissance in a way.
Reflecting confidence in the market, CountryLink has invested $400,000 in improving its travel centre at Broadmeadow. The new look base was officially opened today. With an expansion of services, the CountryLink centre has increased sales by 120% in the last 5 years. Still on, rail and public transport is under the spotlight in the lead up to the Sydney Olympics. Rail managers are planning for a massive influx of people.
Being able to deliver near to 50,000 people per hour into the Olympic venue is a huge ask, and we'll do it.
$320 athletes lined up for the Mountain Man Triathlon, the first leg a 22-kilometre bike ride. It takes a lot of guts to make the course, and a good sense of humour doesn't hurt either. With the picturesque Gloucester buckets behind them, the riders went bush. In this event, the traditional triathlon swim leg is replaced with a 9-kilometre kayak paddle. Recent rain and snow making the Barrington River quicker than usual. It was a stunning backdrop for a torturous event, but there was no time to relax. Wagga athlete Tim Doyle led the pack into the road run, a 9-kilometre race back to Gloucester. Doyle went on to win for the third consecutive year in a time of 2 hours, 16 minutes and 4 seconds, breaking his own record by 3 minutes. But it hadn't been easy.
I went over the handlebars on the bike on the start. I ran into one of the tomato stakes. Went straight over, so I lost the chain. So I'd got the adrenaline pumping.
Newcastle athlete Stuart Adams was second, and in an amazing performance, another Newcastle athlete, Karen Morn, was the first woman home. She has won 5 out of 5 attempts. She missed 1 year when she was having twins. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The pilgrim statue of Our Lady of Fatima was treated with the utmost respect and dignity. Students from St Teresa's School at New Lambton forming a guard of honour and throwing down petals as the statue was carried to the church. The statue is meant to contain healing powers and first began travelling the world 50 years ago, last visiting Australia in 1952. It spent the past 8 months in the Philippines and after today's visit to the Maitland-Newcastle Diocese will travel north to Queensland. Hundreds of people turned out in honour of the occasion, a packed congregation witnessing the crowning of Our Lady during a special midday mass. Another mass will be held tonight. Emma Ossian, NBN News.
Ninnis and Moore were taking it easy at training today. Scott has a cork thigh and Matty a foot injury. Both men are doubtful starters for the Foxtel Cup clash with South East Melbourne Magic. It's a competition outside the normal NBL comp. Sides play a knockout from the bottom teams up.
3 more ball games to win the whole thing, but with each win comes a prize check, and that makes the club happy.
$21,000 is on the line tomorrow night, but it will be tough. The Falcons have lost their 2 clashes with the Magic this year. Meanwhile, back in the competition proper, Newcastle still has a slim chance of making the playoffs.
We need to win our games and in Brisbane to lose probably 3 of their games.
The Falcons play the North Melbourne Giants in Melbourne on Friday night and the Canberra Cannons on Saturday.
With the annual King Street competition just 4 weeks away, the two teams were keen to take advantage of the practice session. But it was clearly a no-holds-barred battle to win, the Falcons and Fat Elvis struggling for first place against the Knights and Happy Heart. The Falcons went on to face last year's reigning champs, the Ambos, who once again took the title.
Yeah, all that training, pushing the stretches for a living, I think, comes through for us in the end.
And from the losers, some winning tips for the big day.
Cheat. Hopefully they'll succeed where we didn't.
Money raised will go towards cardiac research in the Hunter and the National Heart Foundation. Sarah Griffiths, NBN News.
It's been a troubled month for Maitland Council. Fighting over the managerial style of General Manager Rhonda Bignell has seen the council split down the middle and resulted in a rowdy end to several council meetings. In a bid to get the council back on track, the Minister for Local Government intervened last week. He's appointed the General Manager of the Tweed Shire Council, Dr John Griffin, to act as mediator. Dr Griffin arrived at the council at around lunchtime today for meetings with the Mayor, the General Manager and council staff. None of the staff are available for comment today. Dr Griffin is due to meet with the councillors tomorrow. The 6 councillors opposed to Rhonda Bignell, referred to by some in the council as the Gang of 6, met at the council last night. They've planned another meeting for next Tuesday, where they're expected to discuss their push for the termination of Rhonda Bignell's employment contract. Despite this, Councillor Kevin Cousins said this afternoon the group is planning to attend tomorrow's meeting with Dr Griffin and will be glad to discuss their concerns. Emma Theossian, NBN News. "800 students from throughout the Hunter, Lake Macquarie and Manning districts took part in today's carnival at the Newcastle No. 1 Sports Ground. Each qualified through their local zone championships, with awards handed out for the most outstanding athlete in different age divisions. Much attention was focused on the final events of the day, the relays. The young runners' determination was evident as they lined up. The mixed relay was won by Bob's Farm from Port Stephens. Shoal Bay dominated the junior girls, while Singleton took out the junior boys. In the senior division, Scone proved too strong in the girls' race, while Muswellbrook came home in the boys. The winners of today's events will compete in the state championships in Sydney in November. Emma Theossian, NBN News.
The two 26-year-old men made their break sometime between 3:30 and 4 o'clock this afternoon, but they weren't missed until nearly 6 o'clock when prison officers made a roll call. The men were classified as low-security prisoners, serving sentences of 2.5 and 3.5 years for break-and-enter offences. The first is described as tall, of Caucasian appearance with a fair complexion and brown hair. He was wearing blue shorts and a white T-shirt. The other man was also tall with a solid build, olive complexion and brown eyes. He was dressed in prison greens. Police are also investigating the death of an inmate at Grafton Prison. The 38-year-old man from Ballina was found unconscious in the yarn of the minimum security wing last week. He died at a Brisbane hospital of head injuries. He's been serving a sentence for driving and minor drug offences. Meanwhile, the state government has announced a crackdown on prisoners making phone calls. They'll now be restricted to calling just 6 approved numbers while in jail. The system has been designed to prevent criminals harassing their victims. Before being introduced to jails around the state, it's being trialled at Parramatta. Laura Saperstein, NBN News Late Edition.
The Acquisitive Art Prize exhibition showcases the work of Newcastle University, featuring 163 pieces from 100 students. From those works, 4 have been chosen as being exceptional and have been acquired by the Students' Union. Apo Wutushum won the painting section for her work titled Chinese Coolies Chow Chow. Works on Paper was awarded to Matthew Howitson for this piece, One of These Guys, while a photograph of her great-grandmother's foot won Amanda Craig the Photography Award. And for three-dimensional work, Amanda Williams was successful with her creation Dress, in which she used barbed wire for effect. Each student received $500. The overall winner will be announced at the Students' Union annual dinner next Friday. The exhibition at the Watts Space Galleries in King Street continues for 3 weeks.
1, 2, 3, 140 and 130 for Magic of Sydney. The trifecta paid $12.60. Better value for the winner of race 7. Mamselle Paduril paid $5.70 and $2.10, All Our Mob $3.50 and the Golden Greek $2.70, the Quinella $35.30 and the trifecta $550 even. Champion Galloper Octagonal was engaged in the feature event at Moonee Valley today, the John F. Feehan Stakes. $6.90 and $2, $1.60 and $2.50, the Quinella $13 and the trifecta $138.90. The number 1 sports ground played host to another grand final this afternoon, the Newcastle Aussie Rules. In the blue and gold, Nelson Bay had the better of play, and approaching three-quarter time, the Marlins had snapped up a 7-goal lead. With the wind coming across their face, the Bulldogs struggled to edge back the deficit, the blustery conditions spoiling any chance of a comeback, while Nelson Bay had it all worked out to extend the advantage. The Bulldogs' season's leading goalscorer Steve May had one of his quietest days up front for Warners Bay. Nelson Bay held on to clinch the title. The grand final also of the Newcastle Men's Baseball League, defending Premiers University up against Belmont. The sides have contested the last 3 premierships, and after a loss in '95, Belmont set about putting the record straight. One of the season's leading hitters in Joel Pembroke started well with the bat, and when his teammate Simon Turner followed suit, Belmont raced to a 1-0 lead. Cameron Turner continued the powerful start. His smash to the fence sent another one home, and at the bottom of the first innings, it was 4-0. Uni finished strongly, but it was too little, too late, surrendering the premiership. A big day for the Castle Lakers Softball Club, hosting all of this round State League competition, the home side in action in a big double-header. In the first match, the locals met inmates and never took control. The visitors smashed their way to a 1-0 lead at the bottom of the third innings before going on to win the battle 9-4. The Castle Lakers bounced back in the second match, beating the Bandits 5-0. And finals are underway in the Newcastle Men's Hockey Premiership. In this afternoon's major semi-final, Souths were too strong for Norths. They move into the grand final, while Souths now meet the winner of the minor semi between Uni and Wests. More than 5,000 fans packed the Newcastle Entertainment Centre to near capacity last night. Both boxers entered the ring with undefeated records, Bergman with 32 victories, Zoo with 17, and while it was a reasonably quiet start to the opening 2 rounds, the defending champions Lightning Left almost caught the South African off guard. Everything in the Zoo camp was going to plan, and by the third round, Bergman was on the retreat and the world champ pounced. Another right cemented the third round points, and Zoo proved why he was the 6-1 on favourite with bookmakers. A big round 5 had Bergman on the back foot and almost on the canvas, but saved by the bell, the bout went to the 6th. 40 seconds in, an unintentional clash of heads and a momentary scare for the title holder. But given the all clear by the doctor, Zoo saw red and decided to finish proceedings. Down but determined not to be out, the challenger got up on the count and had one last-ditch attempt to steal the title, but looking for his 14th knockout of his career, Zoo was outstanding. His 4th title defence, and while the next step in his career will most likely be in America, the world champion has vowed to return to Newcastle.
I love Newcastle, and one day I'll come back here, maybe not fighting, but do some exhibition, because I love this city and I love these people.
After 3 consecutive grand final victories, there was a lot of pressure on University this afternoon. A loss would end the season, a win would guarantee a shot at title number 4. But West were never going to be easy opposition, and after only 1 minute, the Green and Reds nearly had their first. A short corner gave the students a chance to break through, but it was West who broke the 0-0 deadlock, Jason Farrow making the most of Uni's mistake to make it 1-0. Mark Virtue found a slim opening to increase the lead and keep the Rosellas in the hunt for the grand final. Softball and another big double header for the Castle Lakers this afternoon. After trailing the Panthers 4-8 in the early match, the Lakers finished strongly to win by 3. Not as much luck in the second game against the Dolphins. It was 0-0 through the first innings at Stevenson Park, Lakers pitcher Ben Musica doing his bit from the mound. But the visitors were first on the board, sacrificing 2 players for their first run of the match. Plenty of horseplay this afternoon at the Waratah Golf Club for the Newcastle Jockey Club Spring Carnival Golf Day. More than 100 players teed off in the event, the comedy trio of jockeys Jeff Challen and Alan Barton and trainer Danny Turl leading the field with many unorthodox shots and the odd bit of brilliance. Golf clubs will be relegated back into the closet on Wednesday when the NJC Spring Carnival commences.
It's these images of the hunter that will be used to lure more tourists and their dollars to the area. Tourists now bring in an estimated $538 million to the valley each year. Hunter Tourism believes that figure can rise. In an aggressive marketing campaign launched in Morpeth, Hunter Tourism has released a television commercial and 2 booklets aimed at domestic and international travellers. Tourism leaders say it's a long-term campaign.
We have to position ourselves in the lead up to the Olympic Games, but indeed beyond the year 2000, we want to make sure that the Hunter does become the premier regional destination in Australia.
But according to Tourism New South Wales, more tourist accommodation is needed to cope with an influx of visitors.
The Cessnock area, you probably can't get a room on a weekend. In Newcastle itself, you can't get a room during the week. Now, there may be some ways that can be managed better, but in the long term, yes, there'll be some more accommodation needed.
The United States and New Zealand are being targeted. However, the dynamic Asian region is central to the campaign's success.
Agents from Hong Kong, Taipei, who are saying they love coming up here because it's a combination of the food, the fresh seafood, the wine, of course, but also the nature on Port Stephens.
Blake Doyle, NBN News.
Newcastle's up and down season continued on the weekend. An upset over the North Melbourne Giants on Friday night was the perfect start to an away doubleheader, but the good run came to an abrupt halt on Saturday, thumped by Canberra.
Yeah, there's a lot of excuses you could think of, but I think it was just we just didn't come ready to play.
Newcastle must now win its last 3 matches for a chance of making the October action. This weekend's games are against Townsville and Brisbane, and in the last round, competition leaders Melbourne.
If we beat Brisbane by 15 up there this weekend coming, and it might end up that we have to just beat Melbourne Tigers at home to make the playoffs, which will be a very interesting game.
While they try and win the last 3, the Falcons must also rely on other results. The only team they can knock out is Brisbane. If the Bullets are fired down by the Falcons and then the Tigers, a countback will come into play.
Would be a lot happier if we were already there now, you know. We've dropped a few games where we shouldn't have, but unfortunately that's the way it's ended up, and well, there's still a chance, so we're not giving up.
As the Falcons struggle, the Newcastle Wildfires are bathing in success. Coach Mick Willis and his under-19 side, captained by James Lawrence, has created history. The team is through to the club's first grand final.
Well, I think from a club point of view, it's brilliant in the second year. It's also very good to know in Newcastle there's such a depth of junior talent coming through that we're going to have a first grade in the future.
On the weekend, the Wildfires beat Randwick 23-10 to be the first team through to the competition decider. They'll meet the winner of this weekend's Randwick West Harbour clash in a fortnight. Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
In a marked contrast to the drawn-out saga of a Parkleigh-style markets planned just over the road, a $15 million extension of Garden City's Woolworths supermarket, 14 extra shops and car parking will go to Council tomorrow night. It carries the recommendation of the Council's planning department.
I think it's viewed by the community as being a marginal increase only in the existing floor space of the Garden City Centre, and the fact that there's no changes proposed to the traffic regime there, all the vehicular entry and exit points are all being maintained.
Projected additional traffic flows on Park Avenue and Northcote Drive are expected to be minimal. 180 car parks will be added to the centre's 2,200. The expansion represents a 5% increase in floor space to the centre.
There's a condition that's been recommended by our urban design advisor to do with the external treatment of the development, which is a bit bland in its present form. We're hoping to get something a little bit more architecturally developed than what we have at the moment.
British Aerospace is one of 2 final contenders for the $900 million contract to supply 40 jet trainers to replace the RAF's ageing Mackeys. The competitor, a new model from Mackie. If the British aircraft is chosen, a consortium based at Williamtown would do the final assembly and ongoing maintenance of the 2-seater jet, and that would employ about 100 people and open up some supply contracts. But the Chief Executive of British Aerospace Australia told the Newcastle Regional Chamber of Commerce its members should think beyond this project.
That opportunity is one which I invite Hunter to grab to see what it can do for the rest of the company on a global sense.
In Australia, British Aerospace's activities include the development of a military off-road vehicle and the construction of a missile decoy system for the Australian Navy. But its worldwide order book runs to a staggering $26 billion. Mr. Southwell says companies that are smart enough can share in this business.
We've got to understand what our requirements are, listen to our needs, compete competitively, cost-effectively and with flexibility.
The RAF will decide by the end of this year which trainer it will buy, both contenders planning local investment. Jim Sullivan, NBN News.